Throughout human history, powerful nations have repeatedly attacked or invaded weaker countries. From the Roman Empire's conquests to the 21st century wars in Iraq, Ukraine, and beyond, the pattern repeats itself. These actions are rarely simple acts of evil or random aggression. Instead, they stem from a mix of cold calculations involving resources, strategy, ideology, security fears, and domestic politics. Understanding these motivations helps explain why even today, in an age of international law and nuclear weapons, powerful states still resort to force. 1. Resources and economic gain. The most straightforward reason is greed for wealth. Powerful countries often need raw materials, oil, minerals, farmland, or water to fuel their economies and militaries. Weaker nations sitting on these riches become targets. A classic example is the 2003 U.S.-led invasion of Iraq. Iraq possessed the world's fifth largest proven oil reserves. While the official reason was weapons of mass destruction, many analysts point to oil as a major unspoken factor. Control over Iraqi oil fields allowed Western companies greater access and helped stabilize global energy prices in America's favor. Similarly, Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 and its invasion of Southeast Asia were driven by desperate need for oil and rubber after Western sanctions cut off supplies. In Africa and Latin America, colonial powers, Britain, France, Belgium, carved up continents in the 19th century purely for gold, diamonds, rubber, and slave labor. Even today, resource-rich but militarily weak states like Libya, 2011 NATO intervention, or Venezuela face pressure because their oil or minerals matter to global superpowers. The logic is simple. If you control the resources, you control the economy. 2. Strategic location and military advantage. Geography is destiny in international politics. Powerful nations attack to secure key locations, ports, straits, borders, or buffer zones that give them military or trade advantages. Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine is partly about geography. Ukraine lies on Russia's western border and controls access to the Black Sea. A NATO-aligned Ukraine would place Western missiles just minutes from Moscow and threaten Russia's only warm-water naval base in Sevastopol, Crimea. Russian leaders openly called it a matter of existential security. The same logic drove the United States to intervene in the Caribbean and Central America dozens of times in the 20th century. Panama 1989, Grenada 1983, to keep hostile governments away from the Panama Canal and shipping lanes. Britain and France fought for centuries to control the Suez Canal and Gibraltar because whoever holds these choke points controls world trade. When a weaker country sits in a powerful nation's backyard or near vital sea routes, it risks invasion. 3. Ideology and the desire to remake the world. Powerful states often believe their political or religious system is superior and feel entitled to spread it, by force if necessary. After World War II, the Soviet Union invaded Eastern Europe, not just for territory, but to impose communism. The United States, on the other hand, justified interventions in Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq as efforts to spread democracy and stop the spread of communism or terrorism. George W. Bush famously framed the Iraq War as part of a global mission to end tyranny. Religious or ethnic ideology has also played a role. Nazi Germany's invasion of Poland and the Soviet Union was driven by the belief in Aryan racial superiority and living space, Lebensraum. Ottoman Turkey's actions against Armenians and later conflicts in the Middle East often mixed religion with power. Even today, some analysts argue that ideological crusades, whether exporting democracy or defending the motherland, mask deeper power motives but still convince domestic populations to support war. 4. Security and preemptive strikes. Sometimes powerful countries attack because they genuinely fear future threats. They strike first to eliminate dangers before they grow. Israel's repeated strikes on neighbors, 1956 Suez Crisis, 1967 Six-Day War, operations against Iran-backed groups, are framed as preemptive self-defense against existential threats. The United States invaded Afghanistan in 2001 after 9/11 to destroy al-Qaeda bases. Russia justified parts of its Ukraine campaign by claiming NATO expansion and genocide against Russian speakers posed an immediate danger. This better to fight them there than here mindset is ancient. Thucydides noted in 400 BC that the strong do what they can because they fear the weak may one day become strong. 5. Domestic politics and distraction. Leaders sometimes attack abroad to solve problems at home. A short, successful war can boost popularity, distract from economic failures, or silence opposition. Argentina's 1982 invasion of the Falkland Islands was a desperate attempt by a failing military junta to rally national pride. Vladimir Putin's popularity in Russia surged after the 2014 annexation of Crimea, when domestic protests were growing. U.S. presidents have faced accusations that certain military actions, Grenada 1983 under Reagan, or parts of the War on Terror, helped them politically during election seasons. War also unites a divided nation. When internal inequality, corruption, or protests threaten the regime, an external enemy becomes a convenient scapegoat. The powerful country's media and elites often support it because war spending creates jobs in defense industries and expands influence. The modern reality: rules, resistance, and restraint. International law, the United Nations, and economic sanctions have made overt invasions costlier than in the colonial era. Most powerful countries now prefer hybrid methods: cyber attacks, proxies, sanctions, or supporting internal rebels, rather than full-scale occupation. The disastrous U.S. experience in Iraq and Afghanistan, trillions spent, thousands dead, little lasting gain, and Russia's heavy losses in Ukraine show that even superpowers pay a steep price. Weaker countries have also grown smarter. They form alliances, NATO, BRICS, Quad, acquire cheap drones and missiles, and use international courts and media to raise costs for aggressors. Yet the fundamental drivers, resources, geography, fear, and power, have not disappeared. As long as the international system remains anarchic, no world government, powerful states will continue to use force when they believe the benefits outweigh the costs. Conclusion: powerful countries attack weaker ones because in the game of nations, strength is the ultimate currency. Resources keep economies running, strategic land protects borders, ideology justifies action, security fears demand preemption, and domestic politics reward boldness. History proves that moral arguments alone rarely stop invasions. Only equal or greater power, economic pain, or strong international coalitions do. The solution lies not in hoping powerful nations become saints, but in building a world where the costs of aggression always exceed the gains, through stronger alliances, fairer resource sharing, and genuine diplomacy. Until that day arrives, the sad reality remains: the strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. Understanding these motives is the first step toward preventing the next war.